My family disowned me for being poor. The day they discovered my secret wealth changed everything. The call came at exactly 8:17 p.m. I remember the time because I had just finished eating and my phone had been silent all day. It was my older brother. He never called me. When I picked up, he didn't greet me. He didn't ask how I was. He just said, "We need to talk about the money." I didn't answer immediately, because that was the first time anyone in my family had ever said that word to me without laughing. My name is Ayan. I'm 29 years old, and until that moment, I believed my family had already decided what I was worth. And it wasn't much. Growing up, I was always the quiet one. Not weak, just observant. While my brother Rashid was loud, confident, and always praised, I stayed in the background. My father used to say Rashid had leadership, and I had patience. What he really meant was that Rashid was the one he trusted. I was the one he tolerated. It didn't change as we got older. Rashid joined my father's construction business right after college. He was given a car, a salary, and eventually a position that came with authority. I wasn't offered anything. I tried to start small, freelance work, online projects, things that didn't look impressive on the outside. To them, it looked like I was failing quietly. They never asked what I was actually doing, and I never explained. That was my mistake, or maybe my advantage. The day everything shifted wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, controlled, final. It was my father's birthday dinner. Everyone was there. My brother, his wife, my mother, a few relatives. I almost didn't go, but I thought maybe things had changed. They hadn't. Dinner was polite at first, small talk, laughter, stories. Then my brother made a comment, casual, sharp. "You're still doing those online things, right?" he said, smiling. There was a pause at the table. I nodded. He leaned back in his chair. "You know, at some point you have to grow up. This isn't a game." My father didn't stop him. That was the signal. "I've been trying," I said, calmly. Rashid laughed. "Trying what? To avoid real work?" A few people at the table smiled. Not openly, but enough. Then my father spoke. His voice was low. "We can't keep pretending this is working. You need stability, or at least stop embarrassing the family." That word stayed with me. Embarrassing. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just nodded and finished my meal. But something changed in that moment. Not emotionally, structurally. A week later, my father called me into his office. There were papers on the table, printed, organized, prepared. "I think it's best if we separate things clearly," he said. I already knew what that meant. "You'll no longer be included in any future family assets or decisions," he continued. "It's better this way. Less confusion." Less confusion. That was his way of saying I wasn't worth the risk. There was a document in front of me, a formal declaration. I was being removed from any claim to the family business and any inheritance structure connected to it. I read it slowly, line by line, not because I was shocked, but because I was confirming something. At the bottom, there was a space for my signature and a notary stamp. That was the first strange detail. Why involve a notary for something like this? Unless it wasn't just symbolic. I looked up. "You've already signed," I said. My father nodded. "So has Rashid." I didn't ask any more questions. I signed the document, calmly, carefully, and I left. That night, I didn't feel angry. I felt clear, because what they had just done wasn't emotional. It was legal, and legal decisions leave records. That was where things started to shift, not loudly, but precisely. 3 days later, I requested a copy of the notarized document, not from my father, from the notary office itself. The clerk hesitated at first, but I had signed it. I had the right. When I received the file, I noticed something else. Another document attached, not mentioned during the meeting, not shown to me. A secondary agreement, dated 2 weeks earlier. It outlined a transfer of internal shares within the family business from my father to Rashid at a discounted valuation. That was the second strange detail. Why finalize a transfer before removing me? Unless they wanted to make sure I had no claim at all. I didn't react. I didn't confront them. I kept reading. Every page, every signature, every date. And then I saw it. A clause, buried in the middle. It referenced external asset exposure risk tied to undisclosed financial activity. That phrase wasn't random. It was specific, and it was about me. That's when I realized they didn't just think I was poor. They thought I was hiding something dangerous or illegal, and instead of asking, they chose to cut me out. Quietly. Completely. That was the moment I decided to stop staying silent, but not in the way they expected. I didn't argue. I didn't call. I didn't explain. I documented everything. For the next 2 weeks, I gathered records, bank statements, business registrations, transaction histories. Not just mine, theirs too. Because something didn't add up. If they believed I was a risk, why act so quickly? Why move assets before removing me? Unless they were protecting something else. That's when I contacted an accountant. Not a public one, a private financial investigator. His name was Farhan. He didn't ask many questions. He just reviewed the documents. Quietly. Carefully. 2 days later, he called me. "There's something you should see," he said. His office was small, minimal, no distractions. He placed a file in front of me. Inside were transaction logs from my father's business accounts, not public records, internal movement, transfers, large ones, repeated. And the destination accounts were not company-owned. They were personal, under Rashid's name. "Unauthorized?" I asked. Farhan shook his head slightly. "Not exactly," he said, "but definitely concealed." He pointed to a pattern, funds being moved in stages, small amounts at first, then larger, over months, structured, intentional. "This isn't random," he said. "This is preparation." Preparation? For what? I already knew. They weren't protecting the business from me. They were protecting themselves from exposure. And I had just signed a document removing my connection. Convenient, clean, safe. For them. That's when the final piece fell into place. They didn't disown me because I was poor. They disowned me because I was unknown, unpredictable, and potentially aware. But they were wrong about one thing. I wasn't unaware. I was just patient. 2 weeks later, my brother called again. 8:17 p.m. Same time, different tone. "We need to talk," he said. I didn't answer immediately. This time, I let the silence sit. Then I said, "About what?" There was a pause. Then he said it. "The accounts." So they knew. Not everything, but enough. "I think you've misunderstood something," he added quickly. That was the first sign of pressure. Vague language, minimization. I didn't respond. He continued, "I mean, it's not what it looks like." I almost smiled, because that sentence always comes too late. 3 days later, they came to see me. My father, my brother. No lawyers, no documents, just words, carefully chosen. "We may have acted too quickly," my father said. Another pause, another soft correction. We didn't have all the information. I looked at him, calm, still. What information? I asked. He hesitated. For the first time in my life, he didn't have control of the conversation. That you've been doing well, he said. Doing well. That was their version of the truth. Simplified, reduced, safe. I nodded slowly. I have, I said. Silence filled the room. Then Rashid leaned forward. We can fix this, reverse the decision, bring you back in. Bring me back in, as if I had left, as if this was temporary, as if nothing had happened. I reached into my bag and placed a file on the table. Not thick, not dramatic, just precise. Inside were copies, transaction logs, account transfers, dates, signatures, and a summary report from Farhan. I didn't say anything. I just let them read. One page, then another, then another. The room changed, not emotionally, structurally. My father's posture shifted. Rashid stopped speaking, because now the truth wasn't a discussion, it was documented. You moved funds, I said quietly. No accusation, just a statement. For months. No response. And then removed me from the structure before it could be questioned. Silence. That wasn't protection, that was planning. My father finally spoke. This isn't what you think. There it was again, the same sentence, different voice.
8:17 p.m. And this time, they couldn't ignore it.